To Tell the Truth will forever be known as Mark Goodson's favorite game show that he ever created. And in 1990, it went through its third revival, so its fourth incarnation. It's the incarnation that I'm dubbing the Cursed Year. Why am I calling it the Cursed Year, you're asked? Well, it went through 5 different hosts over the span of its run, from pilot to cancellation, and it was just another victim of the changing trends in television at the time. Gone were all of the game shows, and in its place was Sally, Maury, Springer, all of these trashy TV talk shows. So, without that underway, let's get started by talking about the 1990 incarnation of To Tell the Truth.
Only one of these people is the real Joe Hardy, and is the only one sworn to tell the truth.
Debuting on September 3rd, 1990, To Tell the Truth started its 4th run on NBC. It pretty much plays like every single edition of To Tell the Truth that has ever existed, even a revamped one-on-one round from the 80s version. What else was revamped from the show is the theme music from the Gary Moore Joe Garagiola version into an orchestral version of the theme, and it is beautiful. It's one of my favorite themes of all time. And the set is just amazing to look at too. It's slick, it's stylish, and I love the big light up To Tell the Truth logo. So while it looks great and sounds great and had the classic format that everybody loved, which was great, why didn't this take off? Well, a big mistake happened on September 3rd on the premiere. While the West Coast got the Gordon Elliott premiere episode, the East Coast got the pilot hosted by Richard Klein. That, jumbled up with everything we're going to talk about later on, pretty much doomed the show. So, since we have a pilot, let's talk about the Richard Klein pilot.
Only one of these people is the real Robin Mormello, and has sworn to tell the truth. Now, here's the host of To Tell the Truth, Richard Klein.
Thank you so much. Boy, that feels good. Good morning, panel.
Now, the pilot didn't really have any difference in the format or the theme song, but pretty much everything else was altered. For starters, instead of Gordon Elliott, we got Richard Klein from Three's Company. If the big list of To Tell the Truth hosts that me and Jim did years ago was to add Richard Klein, he would slightly be above Lynn Swann. Klein wasn't really that great and just felt there for the check. He's a good panelist for shows such as Pyramid and Win, Lose, or Draw, but to be honest, he's no game show host. As for the rest of the show itself, it kind of felt weird. For starters, the set had this 2-level motif that the original 50s and 60s version had. It's a nice throwback, but I'm wondering why did they have the contestants forklifted down when they had the stairs right on stage for them to walk down? I mean, if you're going to have a throwback to the classic set mixed with the 70s set, then do it right. Not only that, it looked pretty dark. Maybe it's the video quality, but it just looked dark to me. I'm also getting the vibe that this might have been pitched for the 1990 syndication season, since the stories seem to have a bit more on the risque side compared to the stories we'd hear in the actual shows that we got in first run broadcast. Not only that, because of the darker set and the fact that it resembled a mixture of the original and last 70s set, it would make sense and give the syndicators some form of ease. After the show didn't sell in syndication for whatever reason, the show got picked up for NBC Daytime to help out their ailing lineup. So with the pilot out of the way, let's talk about the show that actually made air. And to be honest, it's one of my favorite versions of To Tell the Truth, especially the first host in Gordon Elliott.
And our own Crown Prince, Gordon Elliott. Thank you. Oh, good morning, and thank you, and welcome, panel.
With Klein not working out, Gordon Elliott was tapped to host the show and did the host chair justice. He seemed to have a great rapport with the panelists, especially David Niven Jr. and Truth mainstay Kitty Carlisle. What also set him apart from the rest is that he wasn't afraid to make fun of himself, especially when he was dancing with a one-on-one contestant that helped start one of my favorite game show moments in the Truth Dance Party. Somebody really needs to bring that up to Randy West and get his thoughts on that since he was there. He had a firm grasp of the game and kept the panelists in line while enjoying the time with them as well. He was a consummate professional and seemed like he was going to do just fine. But unfortunately that wouldn't be the case. A few weeks into the run, Gordon was dropped from the hosting position due to an already existing contract with another company that stated that they would have exclusive American TV rights to Gordon's services and no one else. Because they pretty much did fuck all of Gordon at the time, Gordon wanted to work and thus he did To Tell the Truth. Thanks to the lawsuit, he was, for the time being, blackballed from appearing on American television until that contract ran out. So, thanks to that lawsuit, another host had to be found quickly after 2 months on the air, and Goodson was forced to play eeny, meeny, miny, mo with the panel and pick semi-regular Lynn Swann.
Here's the host of To Tell the Truth, Lynn Swann.
Thank you very much. Nice to have such a good audience out there this morning.
Lynn Swann filled the void left by Gordon, and this replacement was a very weird one to say the least. At this time, Lynn Swann was a broadcaster for ABC Sports, notably for their college football programs. I'm certain that NBC brass was thrilled that a big ABC star was hosting an NBC daytime program. What they were also had to be thrilled about was that he was way out of his depth as a host. He didn't have the gravitas to command the panel's respect and just didn't work out at all. So after 14 weeks, he left to go back to doing ABC Sports, and it left another hole that needed to be filled. With Goodson scrambling, he went to the studio across the hall and grabbed the nearest host that he could find, which oddly enough was Alex Trebek.
Here's the host of To Tell the Truth, Alex Trebek.
Thank you, Burton. Thank you, Burton. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our program. Good morning, panel.
Trebek filled the hosting position for the last 4 or so months of the show's run. My thoughts on his hosting on this show got darker over time. I thought he was good when I first saw an episode of his, but as time wore on, I saw a man who was going through the motions and as tired as he was and as best as he could do. His weekly schedule had to have been hectic at the time with certain days he was doing Jeopardy, days he was doing Classic Concentration, and when he was doing To Tell the Truth. What also was grinding him down was that his wife at the time was about to have a baby, so he was plenty stretched out beyond belief. Although what was nice about the scenario was when he had to leave early to attend his child's birth, Mark Goodson himself got to sit in the moderator's chair, making him the 5th person to sit in the chair during the span of 5 months on the air. Goodson's hosting deserves special comment here because he was absolutely fantastic. Although he was there for only 2 shows while Alex was away, he hosted like a complete pro. Granted, he did it for a spell in 1967 when Bud was ill, but he hosted it like he was doing it for years. He played off of Orson being quite well when he was trying to butter up Mark, and quite enjoyed the stories and everything going on. It honestly made me wonder why Mark didn't host the show for the rest of the run anyways. He was capable of doing it, and it would have provided a lot of stability. That would have been a great way to go out on. Now, the game itself didn't change from the basic format To Tell the Truth that has been seen over the years. 3 people claim to be one person, and each panelist grills all 3 of them for about 30 to 45 seconds to decide which one is the real one and which ones are imposters. After all 4 panelists ask their questions, it is then time to vote. After each one of the panelists votes, the real one is then asked to please stand up. In this version, each incorrect vote netted the contestants $500, but $1,000 is guaranteed, and $3,000 is awarded if the panel is completely fooled. It's a great format, and that's all that needs to be said about that. The difference that sets the show apart is the one-on-one section. Here, they pick someone from the studio audience to go up against another contestant, but this time with 2 stories. But only one of those stories is the truth. To help the audience member out, the panel asks 1 question for each story. Each panelist will ask a question on the first story, then they ask another question on the second story in turn. When all the information given via the questioning is done, the studio audience member has to decide which one of the 2 stories is real. If the studio audience member is right, they get $500. If the audience member is fooled, then the one-on-one contestant earns $1,000. The only thing I really didn't like about this game is the pay discrepancy. But then again, the on-screen contestant was doing more work than the audience player, so it kind of cancels out. It was a fun addition and pretty much put the nice bow on this great version of To Tell the Truth. And that was the 1990 incarnation of To Tell the Truth. Like I said before, it's one of my favorite versions to tell the truth, but because of all the unfortunate circumstances surrounding it, with the East Coast affiliates airing the wrong pilot, well, actually not the premiere, but actually the pilot, the Gordon Elliott lawsuit kerfuffle, Lynn Swann not working out, and everything else surrounding it, it was just doomed from the start. It'd be canceled near the end of May of 1991, and that was also during a time where NBC was having a big clearinghouse of game shows. For example, Let's Make a Deal, after having its own host change, got canceled in February. To tell the truth, would be canceled in May. Classic Concentration would be canceled in September, but would stick around for reruns until 1993. And the big one, Bob Gowen's Wheel of Fortune, was brought over from CBS to NBC to help out the lineup in January of 91, would become canceled by September of 91. It's also, like I said, the changing demographics of the TV landscape were vastly not kind to game shows. So that will do it for this edition. Next time out, we're going to take a British show that already had a go here in the States, failed, try it again, but this time with kids. Think it could work? Well, it might, or it might not, because we're doing the Krypton Factor for 1990. I bet you didn't know that one existed. Until next time, bye-bye!